Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club. My name is Stella. I am a digital nomad. And in this podcast, of course, I take you with me on what it is like to be a digital nomad. I have now been traveling full-time for over 2.5 years, and there's definitely some pros and cons. So today I wanted to talk about a part that I think is quite tough about this lifestyle and the part that I dislike the most. And the reason being is I think it's just really good for people to know what it means if you do become a digital nomad or travel a lot or full time. This is just something that happens with this lifestyle. So that is what I want to discuss today. And specifically today, because actually just an hour ago, I got off the phone with a very good friend of mine who was going through quite a rough moment. She got some quite bad news. And of course, try my best to be there for her, but there's only so much you can do with a phone call. She also has people around, so she's a bit distracted. It's just not the same, especially when there's not that much to say and you just prefer, to just be there. And that is a real downside, I think, of this lifestyle. There's certain things that you just really miss out on that are tough, that are definitely not fun. And those are both bad and good news things, basically. So right now my friend, she's going through something and I wish I could be there for her. And I cannot. I'm on the other side of the world. There's only so much you can do. And that's happened before, where something big has happened back home, or even with friends that are not necessarily in the Netherlands, but in different countries. And all you can do is send a text message or a phone call, which is, of course, never the same as actually being there and being able to help out, giving them a hug. But unfortunately, that's all I can do. And the same thing is true the opposite way. So there's also a lot of good news and fun things that I miss out on that I would love to be a part of, that unfortunately I'm just not. And I think that has a bit of two sides as well. So far, whenever anything properly bad happened, like someone got very sick or there was a funeral, I did fly home. And the opposite too, when someone had, for example, a wedding or a really big important event, then I also really tried to make sure that I was there and I kind of planned my travels around it. It is great to be this flexible and to be able to do that, but of course you can't fly back home or, always be there. And even if you do try to, sometimes it's just out of your control. Flights change, plans change, things happen. And it might mean that you miss out on certain important events, whether those are fun or not so fun events. And that can be tough. The one thing that happens with that, I will say also, is because you miss all of these or some of the big events, it can be tough to keep friendships. Friendships, of course, are about communication and seeing each other and supporting each other. And that is just a bit easier when you're in the same area. It's easier to see each other. It's easier to be there for someone. And I have to do that from a distance, which has definitely meant that I have lost friends. It has also definitely shown me that I have really good friends as well. People that I might not talk to every day or every month or much at all, but when I do go back to the Netherlands, they're there. And I know that if I would ever need them, they would be there for me. So yes, my group of friends, I would say, is small, but really good. And that's going to happen in case you do decide to become a digital nomad or travel a lot or even full time. Some friendships will fade, and I think that that's okay. You just have to accept. It's not for everyone either. It's just like when people say they don't want to be in long distance relationships. I feel like the same kind of applies to friendships. There's lots of people that don't really want a friend who's never around, and that is fair. It's hard to maintain that relationship, just like any relationship, and it's just not for some people. And other people don't have a problem with it, also put in a lot of effort, and then it's just great to appreciate that friendship. the other thing, of course, that I've already talked about so many times is the stability that you give up. Currently, I am in, I think, my 4th apartment of just Bangkok. I think of the year, this might be my 8th apartment. I've moved around a lot. I do not enjoy it so much, but due to my own poor planning, that is just something I have to do, which also means that I have to find a new gym. My routine has to change slightly because things are further away or closer by or not as convenient, or it's that stability that you just have in life where everything is the same all the time. You just don't have it. And personally, I feel like I adapt very well to it and I don't struggle with it usually. Sometimes I do. But that is definitely rough, I think. And something else that you lose, I think that's something that I really, really noticed, especially on my first trip. Right now it's not so, or not at all really there. But when I went on my first trip, I definitely felt like I changed a lot. I was 18, I'd only lived at home, and then I went traveling for 6 months. And when I came back, I just felt like a completely different person, even though back home everything was the same. So you do kind of lose this idea of who you are in a way. I think you learn a lot about yourself when you go travel. So then when you come back to the same place, the same situation, the same people, you really see how much you've changed. And that can be tough to realize that maybe the place that you left or the place that you were in before no longer fits. It's no longer really what you want in life. So these are all things that you give up on, basically, if you do choose this lifestyle. I actually got in a fight with my grandpa, of all people, last year because they had a birthday. No, it wasn't a birthday. It was a celebration of, I think, 40 years of marriage or something, maybe even more, 60, I don't know, a lot. And they were having a small dinner with some family, and they had already invited me months before, but already then I said, listen, I understand it's important, but I can't be there. I have already booked this trip. I'm going to be in Greece, which I know is not that far from the Netherlands, but still, I won't be there. And my grandpa got really upset over this. He felt like I should have been there, that since I travel as a lifestyle, I should have traveled back to the Netherlands. And it was very hard to explain to him that my life is not in the Netherlands. For me, this is my life. And whenever I go back to the Netherlands, it's a bit like a break. Like I pause my life to go back to the Netherlands, to go to whatever event it is. And I'm happy to do that again for friends and family and for really big events and important events. But this was a dinner with about 10 people in just a local restaurant. To me, this wasn't that big of a deal, but I think he saw that a bit different. So we got in a bit of a discussion over this. All good though. But that is going to be hard to explain to some people too, that your life is not in one place and you having to go back to your home country or wherever it is that you lived before, or wherever it is that most of your friends are, can definitely feel like a task or an obligation sometimes, and like a break. Like you're living your normal life and now you have to pause everything to go back, which also very often is not a problem because you want to be there for people, but it can feel it can be a bit tough sometimes to make that decision. Do I go back home or do I not? Is like, how important is this for them, for me? There's certain things that are happening this year as well that I've been really struggling with in deciding whether or not I should go. Which brings me to the next part, which is kind of the feelings that you get through all of this. And of course, the main one for me is guilt. I feel guilty not being there, not being able to celebrate certain milestones with my friends or family. Again, if I can, I try and be there. But for example, and please tell me what you think, if I should go back to the Netherlands or if I do not. But in a couple months, 2 people in my family, 2 cousins, and a close friend of mine, they're all having a baby. So they're first for all of them. So that is really, really exciting. But I've been really trying to decide whether or not that's something I want to go back to the Netherlands for. I think I've decided on no, that I will not be going back for this, which means that I'll miss out on, you know, their experience, the seeing their kids for the first time when they're small. And of course I'll see them, but I'll just see them months later when I go back for Christmas, because that is the original plan. And it makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel like a bad friend, like I should be there more for my family and my friends. But then on the other hand, I'm like, there's not so much I can do, you know, it's their life. They have their family and friends as well. They're going to be in their own little bubble with their newborn. So there's not much I can do anyway, or provide or help with. So therefore, I feel like I don't really want to go back for this. But again, I feel guilty. And the same thing happens with any other event, whether that is a birthday or an engagement, or also, like I said, rough news that happens. I'm not there for 80 or 90% of it. And that's not always fun. And it does make me feel guilty. So just keep that in mind. I think it's normal, and there's not so much you can do, and you will never make everyone happy with your decisions. A lot of people don't really understand what I do anyway, or why I enjoy it so much, or how I can live like this. So they're also never going to understand the choices that I make to keep this lifestyle and to live like this. And they might have a different idea of what I should be doing, how much effort I should be putting in, and that's okay, I think. The next one, grief. I think I do, you know, not just the guilt that you feel, but you grieve it a bit too, like the relationships that you lose, the moments that you're not part of, the things that you don't get to celebrate or be part of with friends and family. I also had a family weekend that we do every year. That was back in March. I missed that, which I really, really not regretted, but you know, I was quite sad that I had to miss that just because of the plans that I made and because I really wanted to be in Asia, and all of it's my own fault and my own choices. So I live with it and I'm fine with it, but it doesn't mean that you do occasionally feel bad. So yeah, you do grieve these things, you know, not being able to be part of it, or friendships or relationships that do not work out because of the distance. And of course, then there is a bit of that fear of regret, I would say. Am I going to regret not going back? Am I maybe going to have to miss out on something that is really, really important? I had a conversation about this with my grandma 2 years ago too, because she looked at me and she started crying and she said, what if you're not here and something happens with grandpa and he dies? Like, what happens then? And I explained to her that I would, of course, if something happens, I would come back to the Netherlands. And I was lucky enough that I didn't have to. My grandpa actually died last year in December and I happened to be in the country. But regardless of where I would have been, I would have gone straight home, of course. But I say that, but maybe you don't have control over that. So maybe the flights were canceled, there was a hurricane, you name it. Maybe I would not have made it on time. I actually did almost miss the funeral now that I think about it, because I had to fly back from Switzerland and the flight was cancelled. So, you know, traveling does mess up things, and there is a real risk of missing out on something really important, regardless of how well you plan it and how much time you think you have. And even if you say, I'm gonna go and fly straight home, shit happens. And of course, then there's the fear that I will regret this, that maybe after the event, I'll be really sad and regretful that I wasn't there and that I missed out on it. And I guess that's just a risk. I think a lot of people want this lifestyle and think it looks amazing, but this is definitely a part that can weigh quite heavy, I think, on you, especially if you are very close to your friends and family and you are a people person and you really just want to be there for someone and you can't, and that is tough. So that is something to keep in mind if you want this lifestyle, something that you're going to have to handle. And again, I don't think that either choice is bad or makes you a bad person or is the wrong or the right choice. I think you have to decide for yourself, what do I value? What do I care about? And also look at it from the other way. Like, what if there's something that I really want to celebrate, something that's important to me, would I want people to come there and be there for me? And would I expect them to fly from the other side of the world to be there? And if the answer is yes, then maybe you should do that for them as well. And of course, that depends on the relationship and on money and time and distance, and it depends on a lot. And what I would say is definitely don't also make these decisions on your own. Speak to your friends and family and tell them, listen, this is what I'm thinking. This is all the things I have to organize. The money is going to cost me. My reasons, basically. What do you think? Like, how important is this for you? And assuming that you have a good relationship with them, if they tell you that they really want you to be there, then there's your answer, and you go and you be there for them. But sometimes I think we also put a lot of pressure on ourselves and think that they value it maybe more than they actually do. And that's why it's good to just ask, be open, talk about it. And then in the end, make a decision based on that. At least that's what I do, based on how I feel. Am I gonna really regret this and feel guilty if I don't go? Or am I okay with not going and missing out? Basically. Both is hard, but it's very doable, I would say. Of course, I still think this lifestyle is great, otherwise I wouldn't do it. This is just the part that makes it a little bit tough sometimes. But I think it's good to know that this happens, to keep this in mind if you do want to live as a digital nomad. If you have any questions about this, if you have any reservations, any questions, any doubts, let me know. Just put it in the comments. I'll be happy to help. Let me know your opinion on this, whether you think I should go back to the Netherlands, how you would manage this, if there's certain rules that you would set, and what you would expect of other people too. Let me know. I'm very curious. Of course, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, rate it. All of that really helps to grow it. I have a lot of both free and paid resources on my website, so I will link that in the description. That is a really great place to go if you're considering being a digital nomad or traveling full-time, or you just want to see what this lifestyle could be. Then have a look, because I have a lot of discount codes. I have a PDF, I have a course, I have a lot of things. So have a look at my website and let me know what you think of this episode. And then I hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.